Welcome, everyone, to Voices Made Heard, Hidden in Plain Sight. I'm Shaihana Alshanbari, and I'm going to be discussing my topic, awareness. We were challenged to mimic 3 poems in the copy change method. The first poem I chose was Winning Streak by Vernon Warren. Our first challenge was finding the funny. It was a little difficult to find the funny when it had to do with serious topics such as awareness. But I felt mimicking this poem would make the most sense. Winning streak, I dreamed I won 3 Oscars, 4 Emmys, and a Tony, too. My fireplace mantle was sagging from the honors I cured. I picked up 2 Golden Globes, 5 Grammys, plus a Pulitzer Prize. The awards poured in that night. I couldn't believe my eyes. They gave me the Nobel Peace Prize and my very own Stanley Cup. Then I earned a People's Choice Awards seconds before I woke up. So, Vernon Warren has a very appealing and engaging sense of humor. But his poetry does really range from serious to humorous. The speaker in this poem is talking about an experience he had in a dream. He's playfully mocking his actual fate when he ironically wakes up after all the acclaim he thought he just earned. The imagery is created by the reference to the prestigious awards. You would imagine award ceremonies, people wearing dresses in very like fancy attire. The whole idea of this poem is to not let your dreams become too materialistic, because you will probably end up being disappointed. Because it's all about what you really do, and not what you acclaim or get rewarded to do. You do not the meaning is to not obsess over whatever you are doing. Because if you do so, it will drive you somewhere very far from what you started and what you loved. Your achievements won't preserve your talent. You can't just spend your time dreaming. It's better to invest in oneself. This is the theme, basically, of the whole poem. So I mimicked a poem, and my poem was Awareness Finally Victorious. I'm going to read my poem and discuss it. I dreamed that we won this case. Awareness was spread and love too. My heart was extending with all the kind words and offers of rescue. 2 more bullies were conscious of their actions, intuitive and empathetic of their victims' cries. 5 more kids apologized for their behavior, and I couldn't believe my eyes. Families, leaders, and schools give us the green light. Topics before hushed aired without shame or hiccup. The community embraced us acceptingly seconds before I woke up. So, the speaker is dreaming about how life would be if young adults are actually educated about mental health issues and such. In the first line, it talks about a winning case. Possibly the case of destigmatizing the mental health, the idea of mental health, the way people perceive it, the way people talk about it. This is the case that the speaker dreamed that won. So basically, the speaker saying if we have awareness, that means we have more love and more acceptance and less bullying. And those are all the byproduct of awareness. But in reality, this world is full of ignorance, and not much people are willing to bring light to such dark topics. It's funny that, and very, very, very interesting, is when the speaker says families, leaders, and schools give us the green light. Topics before hushed, aired without shame or hiccup. This introduces irony, and it's mockingly reminding us that these people who are supposed to be the ones leading us are often the ones who shy away from topics such as mental health, even though they're so critically important. Our second challenge was finding the emo. Now, this one really was my cup of tea, I feel, because the topics we were talking about were so heavy, and it would be easier to write a sad poem than a humorous one. So I chose Wounded by Lang Leave. I'm going to read it out. A bruise is tender, but does not last. Leaves me as always was, but a wound I take much more to heart, for a scar will always leave its mark. And if you should ask me which one you are, my answer is, you are a scar. So, in this poem, the speaker is talking about two different actions to hurt, and sometimes she's hurt and she has a bruise and the bruise leaves, and sometimes she's hurt and she has a scar and it never leaves, and when she looks at it, she's always reminded of what caused this pain. The tone in this poem is very melancholic, and it is in the perspective of someone in pain. In the first stanza, speaker mentions a bruise being tender. Tender is sensitive, but it does eventually leave you. It is lesser than deep emotional hurt, and it leaves your skin just as it was before it was affected by it. So it's temporary. But in the second stanza, she talks about a wound that is more to her heart, which leaves a permanent scar. So, an inhealable scar that hurt forever, not in the sense of actual pain, like you wouldn't press a scar and you would feel pain. You would just be reminded of what caused the scar. Leave is naturally very intrigued and inspired by dark, melancholic subject matter, and that's why the tone in Wounded is it's a very monotone, like it doesn't feel like there's much change of emotion throughout the poem, but it is melancholic throughout the whole poem. My poem is called Boxed by Humanity. It is a very deep poem, so I'm going to read it and analyze it. A harsh word is distressing, but the sting does not last. It leaves one as one always already was. But a stereotyped label you box one in, shapes, molds, cripples, and defines. For the box will leave a bitter taste that always tastes and always taints. And if you ask which one feeds humanity lies, the answer will be the inescapable box used to categorize. So, in this poem, it's talking about stereotyping or pigeonholing people who are having mental illnesses or dealing with it, and that leaves them, like, it causes them to leave it unhandled and unmanaged because they fear being boxed in as a crazy or retarded person if they get diagnosed or try to get help or intervention to figure out what is wrong. So people often stay away from trying to label themselves because if you would say words, it wouldn't hurt as much as pigeonholing or like separating people as a distinctive group of people, making them feel like they're aliens or some stuff. Like, it's weird. So no matter in line 12, no matter how much a person tries to not be like categorized or to not be affected by whatever people are saying, it is an inescapable box. It will follow you. It's like a shadow that will always follow you. And whatever people say is always gonna be in the back of your mind. For the third poem, I chose Troll by Shane Koizan because our challenge was You've Been Slammed. And for me, Shane Koizan is honestly the only person who writes slam poetry that I knew beforehand this project. And he's written one of my favorite poems, and so I decided to mimic it, even though it's a very difficult and heavy burden to mimic your favorite poem. It is interesting to see if your mind tries to change anything. So the poem is Troll by Shane Koizan. Once upon a time, you and all your kind lived underneath bridges, had ridges for ribs that dropped off into empty chests as if your hearts were all stolen treasures, as if an excavation crew were hired to dig up and remove the part of you that let you feel. And while the world above you invented the wheel, you stayed put, knowing that it would one day need to roll over top of you to get to where it's going. You had an endlessly flowing supply line of food. You began to brood over humanity and make meals of our hopes, as if crushing our spirits would make your mirrors cast better reflections than the ones they gave, as if the only way you could save yourself was to make the world ugly so no one would notice you hiding in it. You learned to knit pain into a kind of camouflage, treated hope like a mirage that you could use to lure in your next meal. You lived off of our fears if you could taste what we feel. And every night, as the moon read best time stories to sunlight, you took darkness as an invite to head out into the world. You curled your hands into wrecking balls. Your breath became squalls. You made rocks rumble. You made lands shiver. You made boys and girls pray that someone would deliver them from you. We told them you weren't real. This poem takes us on a journey from trolls of old mythical creatures hiding under your bed to the real cyberbullies of our modern age. So, in internet slang, the word troll is a person who is guilty of online harassment, provocation, or negative intent. So, this is a poem describing the malicious intentions of a troll. So, the speaker of trolls is a third person point of view. And the theme is it's describing what happens in a environment of the trolls and the people who are affected by them and how they behave in certain situations. So it's a very cliche start, like fairy tale start, once upon a time. But then it gets deeper as you go into the poem. I only chose an excerpt of this poem, so it does get more intense throughout the whole poem. The tone is very storytelling. It's like you are listening to a story and then you have a moral at the end of the story. It feels like the same idea. Trolls cannot feel, according to the speaker. They cannot feel, and they don't want to either. When the speaker says, as if an excavation crew were hired to dig up and remove the part of you that let you feel. Hired means that they were brought by intention to do what they did, to remove what they removed. And further explaining this point, and while the world above you invented the wheel, you stayed put, knowing it would one day need to roll over top of you to get to where it's going. So the trolls are aware that they are the person that are causing pain and agony. They are a hurdle that needs to be overcome, and they enjoy being that. They enjoy being the hurdle. They enjoy being the person that needs to be controlled, or the person who's a rebel against people. So the speaker also describes trolls as people who enjoy breaking people's hope they gain joy when they do so. So the bullies save themselves from their own sorrow by making people feel bad about their own life and their own problems. So they are the cause of their problems. They also make the world full of corruptedness, so no one would notice their own corruptedness. They try to camouflage themselves into the world, and since they are so bad, they make the world bad with them, so they are not noticed. The last line of the excerpt is the most powerful one. It is, "You make boys and girls pray that someone would deliver them from you. We told them you aren't real." So, a lot of people aren't told that you are going to face some type of bullying throughout your whole life. Victims of bullying aren't really warned beforehand. There is no manual to life. There is no one that comes to you and tells you, you are going to face this, and this is how you can fix it and figure it out. Not much people are prepared for things that happen to them. And so, especially with bullying. For my poem, it's called You, and I am going to read it out. Once upon a time, you and all your kind lived behind masks, had dark smoke for souls that fades into your black hearts, as if blood never ran through them, as if you hired someone to destroy your hearts, making them vacant of feelings. And while the world around you unraveled the issue, you stayed put, knowing that one day your ignorance will roll over top of you. You had an endlessly flowing supply of excuses. You began to brood over the confused, bewildering them further, crushing their hopes, as if killing our chances of getting better would make you sound more religious, as if the only way you could hide your illness was to prevent people from getting help, because the ignorant wouldn't notice you hiding it. You learned to respond quickly, as if our questions were insignificant, treated people seeking help as if they were weak, because you were weak. You fed off of our struggle if you could taste what we feel. And every step forwards you see as a call to petition 3 steps backwards. You took progress as an invite to head out and call us insane. You gather your thoughts into lightning. Your voice became the thunder. You made thoughts crumble. You made innovativeness die. You made boys and girls pray that someone would deliver them from you. We all thought that us who weren't real, but you were. In this poem, it explores an important topic, and it is addressing mental health issues that are created by people. So it opposes people who are ignorant of mental health illnesses, but not very much these people. Actually, it opposes people who are against mental health awareness, people who are living with the stigma, creating it every day and just living around it, fueling it more, making it seem like it's a normal thing to talk about people in such a disgusting way. So these people in society make other people feel as if they are kicked out if they weren't like them. When the speaker says, "You gather your thoughts into lightning, your voice became the thunder, you made thoughts crumble, you made innovativeness die, you made boys and girls pray that someone would deliver them from you." Okay, when the speaker says, "You made innovativeness die," these people are the types of people who make our society the way it is, who make people feel like they can't have different ideas or they would be boxed out and told that they aren't normal, even if they were just bringing awareness or light to an important topic. Not only victims of bullying or people who do suffer from mental health are the people who are affected by this. It's also the people who are ignorant of it are also affected by it. Or people who are trying to bring light to it, they're also affected by it. everyone around this mental health issue and trying to destigmatize it is affected by the ignorant people, or also the people who have so much knowledge but they want to hide themselves. They want to camouflage what they go through because they don't want it to come out. People think it is more religious to not talk about such topics because they don't really exist, but mental health is just as important as physical health because the human is made up of basically mental and physical. And if these two don't tie and they're both healthy, the person does not achieve their fullest potential. And that's why it's just as important to have awareness of physical health and mental health. It is just as important to discuss both topics and shed light to them. So this is the last poem. It is a slam poem. It is supposed to slam the people who posed it. Throughout this whole project, I've been advocating the same idea. Awareness is important. Talking about something is important because people will leave it unhandled and unmanaged if they do not feel like they are supported and loved. People do everything and anything for other people. People feed off of each other's support, and if we don't support our fellow friends and family members who suffer from situations like this, who will? Who will come and embrace those people and make them feel like they are a part of us? Because they are a part of us, they're an amazing part of us, they are who makes us us. Our society is made up of people with broken legs, fractured noses, hurt skulls, and with some type of mental illness. We are one, and this is us, fractured but different and beautiful. And if we do not shed light to such situations, we are going to pay the price very negatively one day. And that's why it's very important to have awareness, to speak out, to make people feel like it's okay to be different. It is okay to ask for help. It is okay to be you. It's beautiful, and you can be who you want to be. It doesn't matter what society tells you, that you're crazy or if you're not. We should embrace each other and make people feel like they're welcome and that we're welcoming them with open arms throughout whatever they're going through. Thank you for tuning in to my somewhat long podcast. I really feel passionately towards such topics and will hopefully return if I write stuff about it. Thank you so much for tuning in.